Listen up, bitch. You think you're in a reading slump? Well, guess again. Here are 5 books that will get you out of that slump faster than you can say. Caitlin B has the best book racks. I've been doing this series on TikTok and it seems to be a crowd favorite, so I decided to bring it to YouTube and give you 5 books that will get you out of a slump. And a couple of these are from that series. A couple of them are new reads that have completely gotten me out of a slump. You know when sometimes you feel like you have to pick up a book at the end of the day and you're like, I just need to get through this book. And then other times you cannot wait to crawl into bed and read because it's all you've been thinking about. Yeah, these are these books. I've discovered my perfect recipe to get myself out of a reading slump are short chapters or short overall, tons of suspense and plot twists to keep me moving along, or spice. So safe to say all of these books in one way or another fits that criteria. I also want to share a mix of genres, but if you want me to do a reading slump video just on romance or thrillers, let me know and I can accommodate. The first book that will absolutely get you out of a reading slump, because I got myself out of a reading slump recently, Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This is the second Alice Feeney book I've read and I need to read more from her. So if you have any other recs besides Rock, Paper, Scissors, because that's the only one I've read, let me know in the comments because I am dying to read more from her. This got me out of a slump so fast and I read this within I think 2 days. I actually was also listening to this because the audiobook was one of the best audiobooks I've ever listened to. It's on Spotify Premium if you have that as well. If you're an audiobook person, I highly recommend this. I feel like thrillers are often so superior on audio, but this one specifically had the sound effects of the crashing waves and the walkie-talkies, and the narrators themselves were so good. Like, this felt like you were just in the story in this creepy isolated island setting, and I just could not get enough of this. The chapters are so incredibly short, which I feel like is key to get you out of a reading slump. What was that? Am I doing sock puppets over here? Get you a girl who can do it all. This book follows Grady Green. His wife went missing a year ago and now he goes to this isolated island just to hopefully gain inspiration for his next novel, because he is kind of struggling as a writer and needs to get his shit together. On this island he meets quite the cast of characters. The longer he's there, the more he's like, yeah, I don't know if I want to stay here. The twist had me absolutely shook, and the mind of Alice Feeney, I have no idea how she does it. The ending, just like, it kept coming with the twist and the twist, and the way she brought it all full circle. A couple of them are far-fetched, of course, but I personally do not mind that in a thriller. Like, I will suspend all my disbelief as long as we're going on a fun ride. I'm strapped in. But there's one twist at the end that had me rereading things. Oh, if you've read this, you know what I am talking about. But this, I cannot recommend this enough. And I actually finished this book so fast and I was like, what am I gonna read next? My book club pick of the month for March. And let me just say, thank God that I did, because this book was also reading slump cure worthy to the gods. This was an easy 6-star for me. I genuinely can't remember the last time I've rated a book 6 stars. I don't know, this is gonna be hard to top and like one of my favorites of the year. But going into this, I didn't think that I was actually gonna binge this book because it isn't like that short. But the way this was told was so Taylor Jenkins Reid coded. To me, this book is the perfect mix of Daisy Jones' 7 Husbands and Carrie Soto is back. It not only has the interview pages for multiple characters, so that kind of also speeds things along, follows childhood friends Kat and Heath as they grow up and follow their dreams to go to the Olympics for ice dancing. Another book was super short chapters. I had such a hard time putting this book down at night because I just wanted to keep reading more. This is another book where I will say the audiobook is so superior. It might be my favorite audiobook I've ever listened to. We get to hear so many characters that it just feels like these are real people. You're listening to a podcast or a documentary. And it's just so good. I could not believe these people weren't real. At the end of it, I was like, I had the urge to look up these ice skating dances that she describes, and I was just like, wait, it's not real. It's not real, but it's real to me. You like romance, but a book with so much more than that. Like, I don't even know if I would classify this as a romance. It's more drama filled. If you like drama, scandal and tea, or just like figure skating in general, you will eat this up. Let's get some spice in our life. Okay, Heartless by Elsie Silver is one of those romance books that had everything for me, and this was such a fun romance. I am someone who has been in such a romance slump lately. I don't know, I just don't want to pick any up, and whenever I do, I feel like just nothing has been hitting lately. But this one in particular is one that I absolutely loved and I recommend time and time again, especially for someone who's in a reading slump. I just remember when I read this, I could not put this down because the characters in this are so fun. Heartless is actually the second book in the Chestnut Spring series, so first you want to read Flawless. Technically, all the books in this series are interconnected standalones, so you can read them out of order, but I highly recommend reading them in order just so you get the full experience, you know? But don't get me wrong, Flawless, the first book in this series, also pulled me out of a slump. Like, that is what got me absolutely hooked on this series, so that one's a great one as well. But Heartless is the second book and by far my favorite of the entire series. Willa is the most fun main character. Like, I just love her so much. But Willa ends up working for Cade, who is a grumpy dad, a single dad might I add, as the live-in summer nanny for his kid. I believe this one also has age gap, but it's like an acceptable age gap. Like, it's not weird. The banter's incredible. The spice. Moment of silence for the spice. The hot tub, the front porch, the kitchen. I don't know how to pick a favorite scene. Also, this entire series has text messages. It's like one of my favorite things. That's just so random, but if you're looking for a good spicy book to get yourself out of a slump, I highly recommend starting with Flawless. And you can also get this series on Kindle Unlimited. And it's also kind of fun because once you start Flawless, you're probably gonna run to Heartless, and then you're gonna finish this so fast. And then you have like 3 more books to read after that. Have fun. Oh, I love Will and Kate. Another book I read somewhat recently was Love Letters to a Serial Killer by Tasha Coriel. This book was so fun, and I feel like I never hear anybody talk about this book, but I thought this was so fun, and it got me out of a reading slump myself. I think I was in like a horrible reading slump before this, but I just remember picking this up at the bookstore because the cover reminded me of the Burn book from Mean Girls, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I was like, okay, I'm immediately intrigued. That I continued to be intrigued when I read the back, and it said, compulsive, twisted, and darkly funny, you will gobble this up. A delightfully dark and deranged romp through the mind of one of those women. And deeply disturbing. Yeah, I mean, sign me up. This book isn't deeply disturbing in the way that it's like really hard to read. It's more disturbing because the main character, Hannah, is just so unhinged. You're like, girl, what are you doing? Where are your friends, you know? Because let's just say she ends up falling for a serial unaliver while he's on trial. So what could go wrong? The ending of this book also, I had me wanting to throw the book for sure. I read this in a couple sittings. Again, super short chapters. There's some twists in there. And overall, this book is just such a fun ride. Like, I guess you would describe it as a thriller, but honestly not really. It was just kind of unhinged. And lastly, we have a really short book. This is The Storied Life of AJ Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. Now, this is the same author who wrote Tomorrow, 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 which I would not put in a reading slump cure category. Okay, so don't let that deter you. Whether you like that book or not, I personally ended up really enjoying that book, but this book was totally different from that. Unlike the other books, this book is not thrilling and there's no spice, but it's so wholesome. This book has short chapters. It's a really short book overall. It's under 300 pages and it follows a bookstore owner, and he's experiencing the worst sales in history, so he's deciding to sell one of his most prized possessions that's in the store. Of course, the day he decides he's gonna do it, it unfortunately gets stolen, and the story unfolds from there. Go into this book blindly and just let it take you on a ride. I was sobbing at the end of this book, and it's just one of those books that like has you reflecting and makes you, I don't know, appreciate and look at things in a different way. It is so cute. This is a book that will also have you like hugging it at the end of it. And also, this is a movie. I believe Lucy Hale is in it. I meant to watch it after I finish reading this, but I still haven't done that. So that just reminded me, I'm gonna do that. Those are 5 of my recommendations to get yourself out of a reading slump, and I could go on for days. So let me know again if you want another reading slump cure video, or if you want me to do a specific genre such as romance, thrillers, reading slump. We don't know her.